Hi, I'm Stacey Barr, the Performance Measure Specialist of staceybarr.com, and welcome to Lesson 4 of the 10 Secrets to KPI Success program. Lesson 4 is about why your KPIs and performance measures are so lame. The problem that a lot of us have with performance measures is the way people react to them. So some people will look at the performance measures and say, I don't like them, they're not the right ones, I'm not going to use them. Other people will look at them and maybe they're already presented in a report, for example, and they will spend all of their time arguing about the data integrity or the calculation method or the scope of the measure's calculation, rather than using the measure to make any kind of decision about how to improve performance. Generally, when you get that kind of reaction to performance measures, it's a pretty good hint that the measures just aren't the right ones. They're lame. They're not really as relevant or as useful as they need to be. Now, the reason why measures and KPIs tend to be quite lame is the method that we've used to select them, to choose them. Generally, people will be brainstorming their KPIs or performance measures. That is probably one of the most commonly used methods, or so-called methods, for choosing KPIs. There are a few others. Shopping in a KPI repository or database where you can just pluck KPIs off a shelf, so to speak, that might relate to your industry or your sector or your particular business process. You might get an expert to tell you what you should be measuring. There are quite a few traditional methods people use to come up with KPIs, but none of those methods really are good enough to produce truly meaningful performance measures, measures that are the best evidence of the results that you're trying to achieve, evidence of the goals or objectives that you have. These methods tend to produce very consistent problems. One of the problems is that you have a plethora of measures to choose from and you're not quite sure which are going to be the best. And it ends up reducing to a popularity contest more than anything, and that's not really a sensible approach to find the best evidence. Another problem with using those traditional methods is that very often what you'll end up with are things that aren't actually real performance measures or real KPIs. They might be things like complete the customer relationship management project by June 2015 or whatever. That's a milestone. That's a project milestone. That is not a performance measure. Performance measures need to give you evidence of the result that you're trying to achieve, not just the activity you're doing, but the result that you're trying to achieve over time. Measures track your journey toward a particular state. So a milestone can't do that. It either tells you that you achieved something or you didn't achieve something. And in fact, it doesn't even do that. It tells you whether you finished something and when you finished it. Just doing stuff doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the results. The other problem with using a lot of those kinds of methods for coming up with KPIs is you don't get true buy-in. Because very often there'll be one or two people that might dominate the decision about which KPIs to go with, and you haven't really taken in everybody's views. Now, it might sound like a tall order, but it absolutely is possible to do that. It is possible to deliberately design fantastic performance measures for your goals or results without getting overwhelmed by way too many, without being distracted by things that aren't truly performance measures, and still getting a lot of that input from people that will almost guarantee their buy-in. Well, let's consider the example of a goal to do with improving customer experience or customer service or improving customer satisfaction. What brainstorming will generally produce is a list of measures that kind of read like this. Customer complaints, customer relationship management system, customer survey, customer loyalty, those sorts of things. But really, none of those are particularly good measures. Customer complaints has a lot of bias in it, and it's definitely not good evidence of customer satisfaction, even though it's probably the most commonly used measure for customer service. Customer survey, that's not a measure, it's a data collection method. And as we spoke about before, the customer relationship management system is an action with the goal toward improving customer satisfaction, but completing the action doesn't guarantee you got more customer satisfaction. A really good measure for customer service performance would be something like an average customer satisfaction rating measured at fairly regular intervals over time, and asking customers a simple question about overall how satisfied are they with the service that you provide. So if you want to avoid lame performance measures and KPIs, you really need to have a good understanding of what a good or a real performance measure is. It's not an action, it's not a data collection method, it's not some vague words that could really be measured in multiple ways like customer loyalty. A real performance measure is a clear and objective piece of evidence that tells you the degree to which you're achieving a performance result through time. It's not evidence of action, it's not data collection method, it is evidence of the degree to which you're achieving a performance result over time. Now, you also need to make sure you understand that performance measures have to be designed deliberately. Brainstorming will not produce those good measures. Neither will a lot of the other methods we use. You need a deliberate approach to designing the best evidence. Now in PUMP, we have a technique called the measure design framework, and it's 5 simple steps that starts with understanding the result that we're trying to achieve, and then considering what is the evidence of that result and how can we quantify that evidence, and then which of those potential measures would we choose because they really represent the best compromise of relevance to the result, but also feasibility to implement. So that's the secret, the 4th secret to KPI success. You need a deliberate approach to designing your performance measures. All those other methods, brainstorming, shopping for KPIs off the shelf, waiting for somebody to tell you what the right measures are, none of them are going to produce the right measures for you with the right amount of buy-in. Now, your activity for lesson 4 is to take a look at a sample of KPIs or performance measures that you use and do an evaluation of them. You'll find on this webpage a checklist of the criteria of excellent performance measures. So you can use that template and those criteria to assess the quality of a sample of your own performance measures and just see, do you have some good ones? Do you have some lame ones? And it will give you some clues about what's making those lame measures not so good. And when we get together in lesson 5, we're going to look at the softer side of performance measures. We're going to look at this idea of engagement and why people resist performance measurement so much, and what you can do to ensure that the right people have the right level of buy-in to the performance measures that you want to implement.